Hi, everybody. Welcome to Commerce Today. I'm Joshua Warren. And last week, I actually spoke with a founder that was in a really tough spot. So, her direct to consumer brand and business was growing, but Amazon was growing even faster. And so that sounds great, right? But it actually hurt. So, Amazon orders were running about 15 points lower on margin. Amazon ad costs were rising. Resellers were bidding against her on her own name. She was paying to win the buy box on product that she had already paid to make. So, felt like a race to the bottom that was honestly being funded by her and her own marketing budget. And that's really the Amazon dilemma. And it's very common, it's very fixable, but only if you treat Amazon with the respect and control you would give any other powerful vendor in your business. So, today I'm going to give you a very clear, simple playbook. This is not theory, this is steps that you can use this week. So, we're going to look at three things, and these are inspired by my book, The E-commerce Growth Playbook, but I'm putting a marketplace and Amazon twist on them. The three pillars are to reduce channel friction, to build data plumbing with one inventory, and measure what actually matters. We'll also make a call on your operating model, 1P, 3P, or hybrid, and then we'll end with a 10-minute action that you can take today. So let's get into it. So first of all, reframe Amazon. Treat it like your most demanding vendor. Stop seeing Amazon as another channel. Amazon is your largest, most demanding, least forgiving vendor partner. A vendor you can't ghost, a vendor that honestly will take from you whatever you fail to protect. So in my book, The E-commerce Growth Playbook, I talk about vendor control. When a vendor squeezes margins or hurts your brand, you need to stop and set terms. You need to restrict the assortment. You need to create the rules, and that goes for Amazon just like any other marketplace or vendor. You're never going to be able to control Amazon. They are always going to surprise you with sudden changes. It's what they do. However, you can control your side of the relationship with Amazon. And this mindset shift, this mindset shift matters because it changes your questions. You stop asking, should we be on Amazon? You stop thinking, oh, I just hate dealing with Amazon. You start asking, under what terms does Amazon help and not harm our brand's P&L? So let's dive into those pillars. So first up, reduce channel friction. Customers don't really see DTC you and Amazon you. They see one brand. If price, assets, or promises don't match, they'll start losing trust. And when trust breaks, they'll go wherever the Prime badge is, not where the brand story lives. So here's some of the friction that I see. So first of all, pricing. Have pricing parity but with purpose. Pick a default, either price parity or a small premium on Amazon. If you choose a premium, earn it with price or with Prime speed and convenience. If you choose parity, make sure that your site has better value. Lots of times this will be via loyalty, via added services, or via bundles. And avoid whiplash. Sudden undercutting on Amazon will train customers to never buy direct again. So don't go back and forth, and one month you make your price cheaper on Amazon, another month you make the price cheaper on the website. Pick a pricing strategy and stick with it. Assortment is another area of friction. So really be intentional about the product assortment. Again, don't give your customers whiplash by changing it month to month. Typically, what I recommend is keep your core line on Amazon and hold back new launches for your site first. Even just 2 to 4 weeks of exclusivity on your site helps. Also use those exclusive bundles or kits that I mentioned before on your site to escape the one-on-one price comparisons. Also, make sure you give Amazon SKUs their own kit UPCs so that scrapers can't price match to your DTC single unit. Another area of friction is brand consistency. Make sure across both Amazon and your website you have one brand voice, one set of images, one set of claims. Sync any updates you make everywhere at once. So if you refresh photos on your site, refresh on Amazon that week. Use the A+ content and brand store to tell the same story customers see on your own website's homepage. We have an entire Commerce Today episode in the backlog all about that A+ content. Definitely go back and watch or listen to that, and it will walk you through how to make sure you're using that to its fullest. Make sure you stop the leaks too. That is another area of channel friction. If resellers are undercutting you, there's some sort of problem upstream that you need to solve. So Tighten your distribution, consider using an authorized reseller program, track where product is leaking into those cheaper resellers. Enforce your trademarks through brand registry, clean up any rogue listings and hijacked ASINs through that. Yes, I know this is boring work, but it pays. Every dollar of margin you stop leaking is free profit. So I know you're not excited about doing these things. This is lots of times the last step that I see businesses take on Amazon, but it is an important one that I feel should be a higher priority. So related to that, one quick story. We had a client that had 5 resellers on their top product on Amazon. Prices on those resellers were between $6 to $12 below MSRP. So they had to spend big to hold the buy box. So we went through, helped them tighten up their distribution, sent out some notices to some of those resellers, got control of the listing. Within 60 days, their ad spend dropped 28% and their margin rose 7 points. Same sales volume, but a lot less chaos and a lot better profit because they weren't having to spend so much to hold that buy box. The next pillar is data plumbing from the book and from previous episodes. That's my model of looking at syncing and moving data between your systems. For an Amazon business and for selling on Amazon, the data plumbing around your inventory is so important. You need one source of truth for your inventory. If you're selling on your site and on Amazon, please don't try to keep those in sync with once nightly CSV files. You just create a mess. You on one side or the other, you're gonna have oversells, you're gonna have canceled orders. If it's on Amazon, you're gonna start getting penalties. You're gonna get customer pain that absolutely lingers. So you need one source of truth for inventory. It needs to be real time or as close as you can get it. That means whatever ERP, OMS, PIM, e-commerce platform you're using, it absolutely has to speak Amazon, and it has to keep Amazon and your website in sync without a crazy game of telephone. So you need one place that owns your available to sell number. When you sell a unit on your site, your Amazon inventory needs to be updated in seconds or minutes, not hours or days. When Amazon sells a unit, your site also needs to update. You need to have safety stock rules live in one place, not in 5 different spreadsheets, which sadly I have seen. And your bundles and kits need to deduct the right components everywhere. So that's a lot. Some people think, oh, we'll stand up a Shopify site and an Amazon store, and it's going to be such a simple business. We don't have to worry about inventory. Inventory tracking is going to be so easy. It'll just take care of itself. And that's even what Shopify and Amazon will tell you. That's not the truth, though. It's a lot more complicated. And especially as your business grows, you might get away with not worrying about this at first when you're just selling 1 or 2 products a day on Amazon or on your website. But as you start to scale, this can really come back to hurt you. Please get that data plumbing right in the first place. Now, inventory. That also brings up the lovely acronyms that Amazon and Amazon sellers love. FBA, FBM, MCF. So FBA, Fulfillment by Amazon, gives you speed and it gives you a trust transference through the Prime badge, but the fees can be high. And also, you end up with inventory sitting in Amazon warehouses in their fulfillment network. If you're then selling on your website or shipping to stores or doing other things like that, it can hurt to have that inventory tied up at Amazon if it's not selling. So FBM, fulfilled by merchant, gives you more control, but then you have more control and you are the one responsible for shipping and fulfilling and keeping defect rates low. You really need to have a great ops team to be able to do this yourself, or you need to go with a third-party logistics provider that has experience with Amazon and can help you sort this out. Now, MCF is interesting because you can actually power your site and the inventory on your site with Amazon's network. So you're able to then use the inventory that is tied up in Amazon's network for FBA to fulfill orders for your website as well. Now, seller fulfilled Prime is also an option. It does exist, but I didn't mention it as one of your top 3 options because it is very strict and you can very easily get in trouble with that program. Only use it if you can over deliver on speed and reliability. You have to be able to hit those metrics. Now, like I mentioned, with not flip-flopping on assortment and pricing decisions, don't flip-flop on fulfillment decisions. Pick one path per SKU and stick with it. If you constantly switch back and forth, you're going to end up with stock stranded in random warehouses. You're going to have more fees. It's just not worth it. Also, within inventory, make sure you get your operations right. And there are four things you really need to be looking at. First one is inbound planning. So don't load FBA with all of your inventory. Keep a buffer back for your direct-to-consumer website and shipping. Also look at days of cover. Define it by SKU and season and replenish on a schedule so that you're not having those stockouts. Also, keep your SKUs clean. You should only have one canonical SKU per product, and then map out your kits and variations very clearly and cleanly so that you don't accidentally oversell. And then also look at who's going to own order exceptions. You absolutely need to own them daily. Misscans, suspected defects, chargebacks, all those things need to be actioned on every single day and not just filed away for later. I know, again, all that stuff sounds dull, but it is dull, but it is very important. It's plumbing. And if you've ever had a pipe burst in your house, you know just how damaging and how messy things get when the plumbing's not working right. So fix the pipes, keep an eye on your plumbing, do this dull work, and that will help you as your business grows on Amazon. So now the last thing I want to talk about is the third pillar, and that's metrics that actually matter. So Amazon will tempt you and talk about these great big top line numbers of all this revenue. Look at all the revenue you're generating, or look at all the revenue you could generate. But that revenue is not free. You need to see the unit economics, and you need to see them blended and compared across channels. So here's the core metrics to track. So look at your blended margin. So this is your true profit after, and I love this list of fees, Amazon referral fees, FBA fulfillment fees, inbound and storage fees, ads, both branded and non-branded, returns and return processing, chargebacks, and defects. Those are all the ways your profit could be leaking out on Amazon if you're not careful. You need to track this at the SKU level, and you need to roll it up across product lines and across your entire business. If you can't do it at the SKU level, at least do it by those product lines or product families. The number is probably going to hurt the first time. I have talked to and worked with business owners as well as people that are in the Amazon specific roles at businesses that they honestly admitted they hadn't added all these numbers up because they didn't want to know the truth, because their revenue number was okay, their profit number at the end of each quarter was okay. Why dig into this number to just see the pain? It's real simple. You can't fix what you can't see. When you dig into these numbers, you might discover that, for instance, your ad costs may be out of whack on one product family or one specific SKU. You can make some adjustments and actually increase your profit. Now, Amazon, you can look at your ACOS or your TACOS. ACOS shows ad costs against ad sales. Your TACOS shows ad costs against total Amazon sales. And I really recommend looking at your TACOS. Lots of times it gets confusing and blurry between, okay, this is a branded ad, this is a non-branded ad. Amazon's own materials are going to tell you to separate these things out and that this brand spend is separate. And when you look at it and you actually follow all their steps, you realize that they basically try to get you to just not worry about what your branded ad spend is and to not actually attribute that out to individual sales. And at the end of the day, you end up never accounting for it anywhere, which tips things into Amazon's favor because it'll make it look like your Amazon orders are more profitable than your website orders, which is typically not the case. Now, do watch how your total Amazon ad spend versus total Amazon sales is moving. Especially watch it and see how your organic rank improves. If your organic rank is improving, but your TACOS never falls, the ads are just a tax you're paying to Amazon. They're not actually an investment that's helping you sell more. And that's when you need to look at cutting back on some of those branded ads. Also, make sure you're looking at your buy box win rate. If you don't own the buy box on your own brand, please fix that before you scale ads. Go back to what I mentioned earlier in the episode about the things you can do to claim and own your brand and your trademarks. A low win rate means that you have inventory leaking out to those resellers, you have pricing fights, or sometimes it can be as simple as you have listing problems. Also, track your returns rate and returns reasons. Returns aren't random. If not as described as a return reason spikes, update your content and images right away. If damaged spikes, fix your packaging. So often that's just due to the way the product is packaged. Damage is obviously lost profit, but it's also bad reviews. Look at your account health, make sure you keep that green. Look at your inventory performance index with Amazon. Too much aged stock that's just sitting there, means more fees and restrictions from Amazon. If you don't have someone tracking your account health weekly and owning that, you don't have an Amazon program, honestly. You just have a hope and a prayer. So please make sure someone is tracking your Amazon account health weekly. Now, a lot of this, honestly, you also need to track channel shift, not just channel growth. Measure cannibalization. Did your site drop when Amazon rose? So basically, are you selling and making all this great money on Amazon just because people stopped buying on your website and started buying on Amazon? Or are these truly new customers you're reaching on Amazon? Run some holdout tests on a SKU or a region. So basically, hold some SKUs back. Don't put them on Amazon. See how they sell versus the SKUs that are on Amazon. If adding those SKUs that you held back to Amazon then adds net new revenue, keep going. But if it shifts demand just from your website to Amazon, don't do that. So those are the 3 pillars. Real quick, I mentioned the operating model question, 1P, 3P, or hybrid. Basically, 1P, Vendor Central. This is you sell your products to Amazon. Amazon sells them from there. 3P is Seller Central. This means that you as a brand are on Amazon's website selling your products. So 1P, Vendor Central, the pros for that are it's a much simpler process. It's purchase orders. It's predictable cadence. Amazon handles the pricing. The cons, you'll have less control. Amazon will put a lot of pressure on your margin. They are going to want the best price you have ever given anyone, and then some. There's promotion expectations, and there are chargebacks. So you can use this if you have a tight distribution network, very strong trade terms, and a brand that benefits from very wide retail style reach. 3P, Seller Central. So you get the pros there. You get absolute control over the pricing, over the assortment, over the content, and over the pace. But the cons are you own the ops, you own the risk, and you have a lot more work to set up and monitor. Use this if you want to protect your brand positioning and margin, and if you can staff or bring in an agency to help you with the operations. Now, you can also, a lot of people look at it as I'm either going to be 1P or 3P. You can do a hybrid, and that's not something that Amazon will talk to you about a lot, but you can definitely approach them about this. A hybrid, you basically pick your core high velocity SKUs, you put those into the 1P program if the margin math works on them, and then you keep premium or new SKUs back in 3P so you can control price and the story. Just like everything else though, don't flip-flop from month to month, don't move SKUs back and forth, and document the rules of what determines if a SKU goes 1P or 3P and write them down so you don't fight yourself later. A few other quick things that I will mention, and consider these some added bonuses. Make sure your ads are serving the P&L and not your ego. I've definitely seen founders that love having their product and their brand showcased on Amazon. They think they've made it. That's super cool. But honestly, if it's not actually driving net new sales, you're just throwing your money away. So make sure that you're actually looking at the P&L impact of those ads and not just dumping ad spend on Amazon because it's cool and you want to see your brand there. There's a few very quiet profit levers on Amazon that no one talks about. A few of those are packaging size. Literally, I have seen a 1-inch change in packaging size drop you to a cheaper fee tier. So think about your packages, really put some effort into designing those so that it gives a great customer experience, it protects the product, but it also keeps you in those lower fee tiers with Amazon. Also, look at returns prevention. So one cool thing I've seen a brand do, look at the top confusion that people have with your product. In this case, it was, does it fit X? They actually added an image that made it very clear that yes, it does fit X into their images on Amazon. They also added some images saying, no, it doesn't fit Y or Z, and then actually dropped returns. Review velocity. So look at how many reviews you're getting. Stay within Amazon's policies here, but ask for reviews, encourage reviews. And if you do get 1 or 2 star reviews, figure out why and fix the defects that cause those. Also, look at your content structure. Lots of times people either just throw things up there or they try to make it look really nice, but they don't think like a buyer. So make sure that your lead image is matching the search intent that people have on Amazon so they don't just bounce straight off of that product page. And make sure that the bullet points are stating facts and not marketing fluff. All right, so that is everything that we have time for today to talk about Amazon. There's actually some more great tips and tricks for Amazon that I think I will bundle together into a PDF and share out with y'all on LinkedIn. So if you are interested in that, please drop me a DM and let me know, and I will send it right to you. Make sure when you DM me, I've been getting a lot more DMs lately, which is awesome. I love it when y'all reach out to me on LinkedIn. Again, I'm Joshua Warren, the founder of Creativity and of Commerce Today, with a Creativity Gold background behind my headshot on LinkedIn. But when you do reach out, tell me which episode you're reaching out about, because I've gotten a couple of DMs recently where people just said, hey, can you send me that thing you mentioned in your podcast episode? I'm like, there's been almost 150 podcast episodes, so which one? So mention that this is from episode 144, and I will be able to get straight to that PDF and share it with you. All right. Thank you all for tuning in for another episode of Commerce Today.